Hi guys. Okay, fantastic. So yeah, we're going to get started in a minute. We've got a couple more people just joining, so quick hello to a few of the guys that we know. Let's have a look who's attending and joining us in. So is Andy there? So Jade, we spoke recently. Hope you're well, Jade. Nick joined us, so good to speak to you, Nick. Hope you're well. A couple of names we know there, so thank you very much, guys, for jumping on board. Appreciate taking some time in the evening to say hello and obviously find out a little bit more about us as a business and more importantly what we're focusing this webinar on in terms of replacing your income within weeks. So usually we do the webinars where I'm chatting away for ages and unfortunately you've all got to listen to me, but luckily we've managed to drag Sam, Mr. Clayton, into this one. So I'll introduce Sam very shortly, and I know he'll say hello. And hopefully through the technology, you'll be able to speak and everyone will hear him. If you can, just let me know that you can hear me now. If you just drop me a message, just so I can get started to make sure that everything is nice and clear. That'd be fantastic. A couple more people just jumping on board. So if you could just drop me a message. Yep, fantastic. That's good. Yeah, excellent. So hi to you guys too. Thank you very much. Excellent stuff. Loud and clear, that's what we like to hear. Superb. Great. Well, we'll jump into it then, and we're going to start off with, first of all, a little bit of an introduction into myself, that handsome man there. So, yep, my name's Stephen Moss. I'm the Managing Director of Sourced. I've worked in the property industry for 20 years or coming up to 20 years. I started off in the estate agency world. Sold a business that I grew to 6 offices and then started up a company called Legal for Landlords, which I grew for 9 years, and we became the largest tenant eviction company in the UK. And during that time, I was always developing properties. I was always looking at strategies and structures and ways that I could get involved. I always found it really interesting how you could get into properties for free, or how you could pull lots of money out from a particular deal, or structure a property so that you could end up with part of the property for free, or title splitting, and lots of different exciting things. And that's really what interests me and sparked my interest initially in property. I also very happily and as a really good memory launched and created a Sunday Times top 10 phone app. So not a techie guy myself personally, but somebody who kind of comes up with the ways it could work and the structure, and again with a really good team around me, put that in place. And at the same time developing a platform which at the time was dealing with about 10,000 references a month. So it was something we created from scratch, and we created this really good automated system. And I'm very fortunate to take that and bring that into the team in Sourced, and have a team that work around me to help us achieve what we want to achieve in property and help other people grow and build their portfolios as well. So I'm going to introduce you to my co-host tonight. So Sam Clayton, who's our franchise manager at Sourced, and I'm going to let Sam kind of do the introduction himself, if that's okay. Over to you, Sam.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me. A little bit about myself. Spent over 12 years in the retail industry, working from sales really up to assistant manager, then into management and general management. So predominantly for myself, it's been the retail world. Moved over to Sourced around 5-6 months ago. I've got a lot of training from Steve and Chris. And we're moving forward now into the property world, looking at investing in myself in projects. Yeah, and that's a little bit about myself.
Fantastic. So everyone, I'm sure you caught that then. Sam's been with us for how many months is it, Sam? Feels like years, doesn't it?
6 months now, just coming on to 6 months.
6 months, fantastic. And I think it's fair to say some of the things that you found really interesting were these kind of new strategies that you've not come across before, and how people can start to generate a good income relatively quickly using these strategies or ideas and the perception of them as well. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, I think that the big thing that I found with Sourced is what we've got as a business is all the resources for anybody really, starting from people who've got no property experience at all into people who are at the development stage. We've got all the resources really to excel, push you through, and really achieve the goal of making money through property.
Fantastic. So on that note, what I'd like to do is kind of give you people watching this webinar a quick introduction to Sourced. So introduce myself, introduce Sam, give you a little bit of, I suppose, confirmation of who it is you're speaking to and why we're sat here saying, look, these are the strategies we've worked with, or these are the ideas, and this is how we feel you can generate an income. And it's really based on the business. So our business is split into 5 sections. We've got property, capital, developments, care, and franchise. Those 5 sections have different teams. So the property team are there to help identify investment opportunities and help people build portfolios. So a sales arm to the business. Our capital team is our peer-to-peer lending platform. So we use this to fund our franchisees' projects. We've got our own development team. So we currently have about £270 million worth of property developments that we're currently building right across the UK. It's absolutely stunning buildings. We have our care section, so dedicated to identifying investment opportunities that can be built or converted for the care industry, which give us, utilising the care sector gives us a typical increase in profit margin of about 80% on the opportunities we work in. And then we've got the franchise model, so really good network of people across the UK. We're currently at 66 franchisees that work with us in terms of utilise our training, support, but also have access to our resources. So whether it's funding, whether it's access to investors or legal documents, etc., those resources are kind of there and in place to help them achieve their property goals as well. To give you a snapshot of where we are as a business. So we launched our pilot scheme in January 17. We launched the franchise model in September 17. And by February, we'd hit 20 franchisees. August, we became FCA approved. So we then started to lend money to our network. And then October, we'd hit 40 franchisees in 18. November 18, we started to launch our new look branding, and we talked then about the capital side and the different looks there. So that's quite exciting. February 19, we launched our largest development for £150 million in Manchester. So if you've not seen that yet, then it's definitely worth having a look on our development site. The site we've got there in Manchester is absolutely stunning. In March 19, we were approved for ISA and pension funding. So what that meant to us as a business is that we can actually start to bring in larger lump sums of money to make sure that we can do bigger projects, more projects, and really opens up to much, much more. And then September 19, towards the end of last year, we launched the care side of the business. We've been operating in the care industry for about 12 months, testing different ideas, and we're just going through a number of projects with that. And then towards the end of the year, we hit the 60, and as I say, we're on the 66 franchisee mark now. So it's been a really good growth for us as a business, very exciting, lots and lots of opportunities, lots going on throughout the business. And yeah, it kind of puts us in a nice place to say, what are the opportunities and how can we start to generate some income? So this is a little bit of a debate that within our business and within certainly HQ that we've been talking about, how can you replace income? How can you do it within weeks rather than months? And I'm sure there's a lot of people sat on this webinar that have watched other people doing it with videos, in some respects making it look easy. And, one of the questions is it easy? And we've kind of been discussing it between ourselves to say, well, if you know what you're doing and you've got certain parameters, is this really simple? Is this a case of, yes, anybody can do this? Or actually, do the stars have to align in order for this to happen? And another really good question as well to consider when looking at replacing your income within weeks is actually what's the longevity of this? So quite often you'll see people go out and find a rent-to-rent, or they'll go out and find a quick fix, if you like. Now, how realistic is that that it will take you through to get to a serious level of income? And there's some of the things that we've kind of put in this webinar to discuss, because I think it's quite important to to take on board. So some of the questions we asked ourselves, you know, what is this real? Is it actually possible? What are the options and what are the opportunities and the strategies? Are the training courses worth it to show you these and show you how they can be done? What are the risks? So quite often people say, well, you know, we're going to take this income or we're going to replace our income with weeks. Now, when we meet with potential franchisees or people that are looking to join ourselves, you know, we will talk to them about cash flow. We'll talk to them about, you know, what are your expectations? How quickly you're expecting to bring an income in? Are you leaving a full-time job with very little savings, you know, to put all your kind of eggs in one basket? And, you know, that's a big risk and something that we need to discuss to make sure that it's viable what you're looking to do. Do you need experience? So I'm sure a lot of people have seen videos where it's often bantered, look, you don't need experience. And I think what's important to get across to people is having a lack of experience typically means that it's going to take longer to achieve what you're looking to achieve. Don't get me wrong, there are people out there that, you know, like businesses, that there are those unicorns out there, and we've certainly got some that we work with that have achieved really good success in a very short space of time and had very little experience. But typically, as an overall and an average, experience is quite an important thing. Another one as well, something we talked about, Sam, wasn't it, in terms of needing to put money down. You know, I know obviously you've kind of seen over the last 6 months lots and lots of different structures and strategies. You know, what are your thoughts on having to put the money down on a particular deal?
I mean, it's to be honest, it's just about being realistic with your expectations and what you want to get out of it. A lot of the time, yes, you are going to need to put money down in the instance, but we've got things in place to help you to put minimal amounts of money in. The funding being a massive part of that, and then you've got things like property sourcing. You know, that's one of the key things. If you need money and cash flow moving forward straight away, that's something that you've got to understand. You've got to be able to package the deals first of all, and then sell them on to investors, and you form a base from that and work up to your bigger strategies where you will need to put money down. Yes.
Yeah, I think quite often we see people, don't we, that say, you know, you can get into larger scale stuff without any money down. And I think one of the biggest things that's kind of bantered around is using other people's money. I think, you know, a lot of people talk about that in terms of, you know, utilising, and it's a lot harder than what it seems. You know, I think you've got to be sensible with it, and you've got to have a plan on how it can be done. Or, you know, I think one thing that worries me when I speak to people in the industry that are relatively new is they're looking to utilise other people's money, yet they have no experience in it. So you need to again fall back onto the previous question: do we need experience? Well, if you're lending other people's money, you should really have that experience, and you should make sure that it's deliverable. The property sector, it's just one of the points that I want to put in here. Really, is you know why we love and why we're kind of, if you look at all our businesses, they're all based on the property industry. You know, for us, it's and I kind of mentioned at the beginning that one of the things that we love about the property sector is that you can literally utilize your imagination. If you're the type of person that has a great imagination and can dream up these fantastic structures and options and different ways of putting deals together, then there is no better sector for you, because you can use that imagination to help you generate an awful lot of money. And obviously that's one of the biggest attractions to the sector, is you know, just how much money can be made from it. Another one is you know, how exciting it is, the types of people that you meet, the types of investors that are out there. There's lots and lots of different characters, and it's a real big selling point, I suppose. For me, it was when I started dealing with landlords, and I suppose really your sort of dealer wheeler characters. You come across some really good ones. We get some cracking guys that come in. Some guys that have joined us, but you know, some typical dealer wheelers that come in with deals, and when they're talking about the franchise opportunity, they're already presenting deals to you and trying to get you to tie in and do something. And some of them are quite exciting. We met with one today, Sam, didn't we? That really good opportunities, clearly has an eye for it, which is quite exciting for us, and has the experience as well. So, you know, different reasons why people are attracted to the property sector, and just some of the points that, you know, why we find it exciting. one of the things that to be aware of is, it's not a get rich quick scheme. And this is the point we were making earlier in terms of there are ways that you can make quicker money, but is it going to give you that longevity of income? Another area as well to consider when you're looking at making, I suppose, quicker money or replacing income. This is a really good example that we've got here of one of our franchisees and what they achieved. So Nadia from South East London generated a £60,000 profit in 8 weeks. Now, if anybody knows Nadia who's on the call, I'm sure they will confirm that, some of the key things that Nadia has is that she's very focused, very committed, and she will constantly push and push and push to get that opportunity and to get that deal across the line. Quite often you find with property, people like the idea, they like the potential of earning that sort of money, but when they come against a hurdle, they walk away from it and they leave it and they don't go back to it, which is a real shame, really, because there's some really, really good people that have just thought, I've hit my head on this wall too many times, I'm walking away from it. Nani is one of the people that continued to push, did very, very well, and I think this deal in itself was done. She found it, completed it, and got the profit in, 4 months, was it, Sam?
Yeah, it was 8 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So, that's living proof that this can be done. You can earn really good levels of income by, putting that commitment and that focus into an actual project and having a plan as well. So the key things that are making it reality are focusing on the strategy. I'm going to talk about strategies very shortly, and I'm going to look at different types of strategies, the ones particular that we teach and we work with franchisees on. But what's important is not trying to do every strategy. What's important is usually you pick 2, maximum 3, and you work on those strategies. And just by being controlled and strict with yourself on that, it'll make a big, big difference. The second thing is your time that you dedicate to this. So quite often we'll have people that will come along to our office and say, look, I'm really interested in property. I've got a real bug for it. I love finding opportunities, but I work full time. I've got children and I'm going to do it on a Saturday. And we know from experience that isn't going to happen. We know that you have to dedicate time to this in order to make it real and to make it work. And that's why if somebody's in that position, we wouldn't bring them in as a franchisee. We expect a minimum 1 day per week, and their results will reflect that. But we also appreciate they have to build up an income to then start to give up work, etc., etc. So being realistic and it's putting the time into it. Your investments as well. Now, investment can mean lots of different things. It can mean obviously the time, your time, but also some cash. It can mean missing out on dinners. It can mean missing out on particular events because you've got to put the time into maybe networking or other areas. Your knowledge is a really big key part. When talking about the Nadia instance, so she'd never done an assisted sale before. But what she had, like most people that get into property, like ourselves, she had a source to rely on to educate her, to help her with that knowledge, to get her across the line, to make sure that she knew what to do every step of the way once she'd actually got the offer accepted, and what the ways around the hurdles were, I suppose, as well. Location as well. I think location's a real big key factor because. Again, quite often we get people that come to our training events and say, do you know what, I've looked at the strategy, I love it, we can make so much money from this, but it's, they tend to forget that potentially it won't work in their location. So if it doesn't work in their location, what's the next plan? Or is it a case of you need to start looking a little bit further away and start looking at other opportunities? But it's definitely something that you need to consider, when taking that into account. Another one, and I know it's one that you want to talk about, Sam, in terms of hunger for success. So, this is something that I know when we're meeting with franchisees, you look for in particular.
Yeah, so one of the key things is looking for the appetite to do well, and realistically looking what they've done in the past. And you can always tell a character from that, see how hungry they are, what work they've done. And I think if you've not got the hunger, the rest of it, you might as well not be there. It's about moving forward and and really, really striving through. So the strategy, your time, your investment, your knowledge, and your location is all a big key factor. But without the hunger for success, you're never going to be able to implement them. So your time is about how hungry you are. Your strategy is about focus and the hunger to succeed within that, within the industry. Another key thing is passion. So what we look for is we want to see that you've got a passion for the property industry and you're not just looking to make money. So you've got to have the passion for the business as well, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, it's one reason I know that you listen to the Rocky song every day, just to keep that edge, as you call it. But no, taking into account, you know, they're the key facts that these are the points that we say, look, this is what you need to do to achieve this and to achieve that income. Let's have a look at the strategies. So we talked about different strategies available. Now, what we've actually done here is we've looked at the different strategies that we teach, but we've also looked at either the average or the minimum fee we achieve as a network. So the first one's rent to rent and serviced accommodation. So averaging about £700 per month. We've got lease options, which average in £3,000 to £8,000 average profit. So just to kind of to explain, if anyone's not aware of these particular strategies or how they work, we're going to touch on them in a little bit more detail shortly. So don't panic. We're going to touch on the ones that are relevant to what we're looking for in terms of generating quicker income. Assisted sale. So in terms of you know, the structure, we know that typically we generate a minimum fee of £30,000. Title splits. So again, minimum profit of about £20,000. Property sourcing. So as Sam mentioned, it's quite a good one to get yourself up and running. Average fee about 2%. Refurbishment, £25,000 as a minimum fee. Conversions, typically minimum fee at profits of £60,000. New build, so about £150,000 minimum fee has been our kind of minimum level. And then off-plan property sales, so 6% average fee. So there's quite a few strategies there. And as a business, we initially, well, we've done it for a couple of years, but we've always worked on the basis that we do a training week. We focus very heavily on, you know, all these strategies during the training week. And literally on the Friday when you're leaving, your head's about to explode. We've changed our structure this year so that we've spread the training across different individual days, so that you actually come and you focus just on that strategy across typically a 2-day period. And it's meant that we've ended up with, what, 73, is it, Sam? 73 training days?
Yes, yeah, 73 in total now, with including the 3 days.
Yeah, so 73 is quite a lot. So we repeat them every 4 months. So it means that, you know, we're making sure that if a franchisee wants a refresher, or what we prefer to see is actually a franchisee join us, focus on a strategy, get that strategy right, get it working, get the income coming in, then jump on another course to learn something new, and then jump on another course and continue to work that way. Not every one of these strategies clearly is the type of strategy that you can use to generate quick or, you know, replace your income type of strategy. You know, there's quite a mix there where some of these will take 8 months, 12 months, 2 years. You know, a new build strategy as an example, it might take you 3 months to find it, 3 months to get planning, 3 months to get the sale through, 8 months to build it, and then 3 months to sell it. So you're not going to get paid for that time, but obviously at the end of that period, your return is going to be much, much higher than, you know, a £700 a month rent to rent scheme. So it's about considering what strategy works for you, what works for you. It's about also considering as well, not just the strategy working for you, but do you have the time to dedicate to it? Do you have the cash flow to support you while you're waiting for that income to come in? And, you know, do you have the drive as well to continue going and going and going throughout the process? Oh, there you go, talking about the training strategy. So that was quite good timing. So over 70 training days per year. Comprehensive training covering a multitude of property strategies. So you can see there we've got a diary. We've got a really good online function where you can literally click on, select which program you'd like to do, and you just put yourself in and you come along. And our training development director, Mr. Chris Kirkwood, looks after you and takes you through the training step by step.
If any of you would like me to share that diary with you, just ping me an email. I'm happy to share the diary of the 2020 with you, no problem.
Yeah, fantastic. So all the courses are set out throughout the whole year. So there is a link there, actually. You can actually download that. So might give somebody an idea of, you know, what they're expecting or the level of sort of support that they should look for as well. Now, obviously, I mentioned that not all these strategies are going to work for you to generate a quick income. So I think it's really important to look at the ones that do. The first one is the one that you mentioned, Sam, so property sourcing. So there are a number of different ways that we approach property sourcing. And a lot of it can be down to the area, it can be down to what's available as a property or the investment demand. So when I say that, I mean, the whole idea of property sourcing is you identify a property for an investor, you package it up and you present it to them, and in exchange you get a fee. Now, a lot of people that we meet, a lot of people go on training courses and come away and say, yeah, I'm going to go into property sourcing. It's the quicker type of income. It gives me something, even if I only find one property a month, it's going to give me £3,000 to £5,000 a month and I can live off that, etc., etc. But there are some things that you've got to be aware of. The first thing is the timescale. So a property sourcing fee is quite often paid on exchange. Now, what we've done is most of the time we'll actually ask for that upfront. It's a sign from the investor that they're committed to doing business. And secondly, as well, we often find that if the property investor hasn't committed anything to this and they're going ahead and they're purchasing it and something changes, they decide, you know what, I'm not feeling too well, or this just isn't the right property, or I've seen something on the TV about Brexit, then quite easily they can walk away. Right? If they've paid and committed your fee earlier on and they're locked into it, you know, if there's something serious, don't get me wrong, we'll always turn around and say, the survey's not worked out or there's a serious problem, of course we'll refund it or we'll move on to the next property, whatever works for the investor. But if it's a case where they've just woken up and decided, look, we're going to change our mind, we're not going to do this, then, you know, we've got that commitment there to lock them in. In terms of return, so you saw on the slide before, our typical fee is 2%. And what we do from a property sourcing point of view isn't just a case of we find a link on Rightmove and we send it over to the investor. We'll go and view the property, we'll look at the growth, we'll look at the statistics in the area, we'll compile a report and we'll present that to the investor to say, this is the property I feel you should go for. Here's, you know, my view on it. I've viewed the property. If there's any works, here's the costings for the works, and you're presenting them an opportunity really. So, oh, sorry, jumped ahead there. And some of our tips as well. So one of the tips, as I said, is you know, look to try and get the fee on reservation because it's a commitment and that's quite important. Other things with sourcing as well is you know, it is relatively quick money, but just bear in mind that a lot of property sources fall down is that they'll spend the time finding a property, introduce it to the investor, have a reservation fee, and then they won't do anything else. And actually, a lot of the hard work starts then. 1 in 3 properties fall through. So it's important then to give your investor the, you know, regular weekly updates, touch base with the solicitors, and progress the sale through to exchange completion. Because, you know, typically most investors, if they're happy with the service, they'll go on to either buy another one or they'll recommend you to someone else. So property sourcing, I think, it's probably one of the most popular ones. It's certainly the way that I got into the property sector. When I started off in a estate agency, I started then sourcing for investors. And for me, to go on to the larger projects and do the sort of scale of projects that we're involved in, I think it's one of the most important because it's kind of the foundations for everything else. It's something that if you know how to source and how to identify and how to structure opportunities, you can do that on all different types of scales. It's also one as well that generally doesn't leave you, because I think quite a lot of these strategies that are there to generate income quickly, quite often people use them in a short space of time to get that income, and as soon as they can get out of them, they generally sell them on and, you know, move on to larger scale things. So the second one, rent to rent. So again, very popular. I'm sure you've come across this. If you haven't, where have you been hiding? But yeah, to kind of give you an idea of the concept of rent to rent, you will identify a property. So let's say I'm a landlord. I've got a 4-bedroom house up for let and it's £1,000 a month. You would come along to me and say, I'll rent that property from you for £1,000 a month. And then I'm going to rent each room out for £500 a room, which will generate you £2,000 a month. You would pay me £1,000 and keep £1,000 in theory. Obviously, there are things around that. So typically, you would pay the bills. There might be some works to do. But yeah, rent to rent has grown very, very popular. Some of the key reasons it's grown so popular is because it's quick to set up. It's actually not hugely expensive to get operational as well. So If the property doesn't need a lot of work, you could negotiate with the landlord to say, look, I can't afford to pay the first month's rent, or let me get away with paying a deposit because I'm giving you a longer term lease. So normally you try and get a lease for 3 to 5 years, and you'd operate it in that way. In terms of the returns, you hear all kinds of different stats for rent to rent. As a network, our average is £700 per month. You do hear, and on sort of HMOs, you can get 1,000, 1,500. There are stories, 2,000. I'm sure, people have been very successful with it. In terms of our tips, for us, this is generally a short-term strategy that we would use and our franchisees would use. And the reason for that is, if you take on, let's say, 5 rent-to-rents, so you're now generating, a nice monthly income that's coming in. You've got 5 properties and typically, let's say, 5 tenants in each. So suddenly you've got 25 tenants that you're managing. While you've got that income coming in, you're then starting to look at maybe refurbs, developments, conversions, which is a much chunkier sort of income. So you might, from one conversion, you might generate £60,000. And it's typically when people do this, they tend to then say, I'm going to sell my rent-to-rents, not have the kind of headache or the responsibility of all these tenants, and then focus on these larger lump sums of income. So a lot of people, it's fair to say, Sam, that use this as kind of a stepping stone. Would you agree?
Yeah, so we'd always sit down and say that if you need cash flow straight away, rent-to-rent sourcing is where you want to start, build your foundations, and then move up. Then you scale up to your assisted sales, your refurbs, your conversions, and then eventually get to the new build. But I think that one of the key things is really you've got to scale yourself, start at the bottom and work your way up, build your cash flow.
Fantastic. And rent-to-rent's not always as simple and straightforward as it seems. I mean, to give you guys an understanding, our first rent-to-rent, we lost about £5,000. So there are still hurdles that you've got to be aware of, and there are still ways that you can end up losing money. We did about 5 in total. So the first one we lost money, and then we understood what we'd done. We learned how to do it. And then once we'd actually got to level of 5, we then started to train our franchisees and say, look, this is what we've done. This is what's been successful. And yeah, start giving them a bit more of an idea of how it works and the pitfalls to look for. So again, some of the benefits, I suppose, of having a network around you. Serviced accommodation. So I'm sure, again, people have come across this. I know, Sam, you're a huge lover of serviced accommodation. It's fantastic in terms of finding and identifying temporary accommodation. So what you're basically doing is taking a property, let's say a normal apartment, and you're renting out almost as like a hotel. So you're getting paid per night rather than per month. And if you add that up, generally you're getting a very, very good return on it. It's all about, some of the benefits, some of the reasons people do serviced accommodation. Again, very similar to rent to rent. I think you'd agree, Sam, in terms of a lot of people actually do rent to rent for serviced accommodation, don't they? Where they take a property, rent it, and then let it out as a serviced accommodation unit. It's quite a common kind of structure.
Yeah, I think you can make, if you get serviced accommodation right, you can make real good amounts of money with the serviced accommodation as opposed to the standard rent to rent, and that's why a lot of your property investors will look at that side of it, really. Yeah,
for me, and in terms of tips, we've done a number of serviced accommodation units. For me, the key is location. It's all about being next to something and people having a reason to stay at a hotel, whether it's a business district, whether it's amusement area, parks, or events location like the NEC, or something that's going to attract people who are going to require a hotel. That's when you're onto a winner. One of the best tips I can give anybody looking at serviced accommodation when they're actually looking at a new area is look at what hotels are moving into that area. Are there any new hotels being built? Because the people that do their due diligence, the hotels, they spend millions and millions of pounds on understanding the economy, the demand and the tourism and everything else for that particular location. So if there are hotels that are opening up, that the service accommodation is going to be strong as well. So that's a really good tip that I would recommend utilising when looking at this strategy. And it's fast as well. You don't need you don't need to go and buy a property, so you don't need a 25% deposit. You can, again, literally do rent to rent and then let it out on a serviced accommodation basis. We've got one particular guy who is absolutely on fire with this in Manchester. doing a ridiculous amount of money per month, doing very, very well. And it's about the location that he's chose. It's just absolutely perfect for it. So doing very well. Another strategy not many people talk about is off-plan sales. And I don't really understand why this is kind of overlooked, because for me, it's another quick income generator. And I think it's actually one of the biggest and the best. And, I talk about this on some of my videos. When you're dealing with off-plan sales, so as an example, we've got over 1,500 units that have been built in 2020. Now, on the 1,500 units, we pay 8% fee to any agents that sell those units, or to our franchisees, as an example. So when you apply 8%, so to give you some kind of context of that, if a franchisee sells one of our Manchester apartments, their average fee on that is £15,000 for the sale. When you compare that with a typical estate agency fee, which is 1 to 1.5% maximum, it's a huge amount. And more importantly as well, we pay it on exchange, which is typically 28 days. So to generate a huge amount of income, you realistically only need to sell 2 off-plan properties. It's £30,000, which would replace an average income, which straight away means that you're in the property industry, and you're on your way to start doing other things and bigger things and to help you out. Some of the tips that I would say, identifying the good off-plan investment properties. Is there anything you'd add to that, Sam? Because I know you've been down to a number of the sites a few times.
Yeah, I think one of the other positives to off-plan sales is a lot of the time they have structures in place where if there isn't any tenants, then you're going to get a rental yield from it anyway. And an investor's got a little bit more security when looking into off-plan sales.
Yeah, the benefit of getting paid in 28 days is, wow, that's what you want, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. So for me, off-plan sales is it's something that anyone can do. If you've got friends, family, they're looking for an off-plan property or an investment property, or accountants, solicitors, there's so many people. And typically, off-plan properties, you're getting them at a discount anyway. Normally get a rent guarantee, so 2 years as an example. So the buyer doesn't have to touch it for 2 years. They get a fixed income. There's some really, really good deals out there. So definitely one that I would say they need to take on board and have a look for it as well. One of the comments that we mentioned earlier on is, does this work? Is it a quick win? And I think that's something really everybody should consider when building their plans. So if your plan is to build up lots and lots of rent to rent, but ultimately you want to be a property developer, then keep that in mind, that actually I'm going to build these rent to rents up, but I'm only going to hold them for 6 months, 8 months, until the first refurbs and conversions and developments start to kick in. And it's about building that plan, what it's going to look like, how it's going to feel, and the process that you're going to go through. And that's something that we help our guys and we introduce them to on our development chat as well. So I'm going to pass you over to Sam. He's going to give you a bit more information about us as a business and the franchise and how that works. So Sam, if you want to expand on it a little bit more.
Yeah, so we're currently at 66 franchisees. Started franchising we stopped the franchise, should I say, in October of 2018, and then we built it. We started again around 7 months ago, and we built it up to 66. The plan is to get to 100 franchisees and then put some new infrastructure in place. Steve touched on the training that we've implemented, and that's really about the franchisees that we've currently got getting the right training. So the training that they might have had, say, 18 months ago, moving forward, getting retraining if they need it in the right areas, if they're scaling up to the conversions and refurbs from the rent to rents to build the cash flow and the sourcing like Steve touched on. It's about getting the right training and us being able to implement them and make them excel their growth as quick as we can, really. Some of the events that we do, so we do sim management sim events. So we've got Everton, who is our largest. Everton Nadia, they run one in Islington, and that gets around 140 attendees. And really, what they've built there is a real good network of people that they've got a lot of opportunities coming their way from that. So one of the big things that I would advise anybody moving into the property industry, whether you come on board with us or not, is get to networking events. And if you can run your own networking events, then definitely that's something that will excel your growth in the property industry and really get it excelling.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Another big thing that we do with our franchisees, and you know, it's certainly a huge help, is we offer 100% funding on projects. So, you know, for us, if there's an opportunity to convert, build, or refurb, etc., then you know, our main criteria is we'll go up to 70% of GDV. So, if people are looking for quicker incomes and quicker ways that they can you know, generate income or do multiple projects, then this is a huge benefit, enabling them to kind of hit them goals and not be restricted by, I suppose, the pot of money they've currently got. You can use this fund and on our peer-to-peer platform to help grow and take on a number of projects at the same time. So it's definitely worth having a look at. Simon, again, can give you a bit more detail about this and how it works. Here's some of the nice comments that some of our guys have made. So Peter in South Manchester, who's actually used some of the money from the platform and managed to learn a bit more from it and the support. We also as well help not just in terms of funding projects, but actually at the very beginning helping you in terms of the training, but identifying and providing you leads. So as a business, we generate over 35,000 property leads per year. And these leads are in lots and lots of different categories: planning, HMOs. They come straight into your CRM system, so you can jump onto them, analyze the deal, see if it works for you, if it's one you want to view or sell, etc. And it's a great way to kickstart your property business and get leads straight in through the door. We do work with a number of quite a large pool of investors as well. So if people are looking to actually just sell deals and work as sourcer, we've got a number of our franchisees that just source. So we've got some guys. I mean, we've got one guy who's been with us for 12 months, and he's on his 30-something sourcing deal.
32 deals in 12 months.
Yeah. So you know, it's really interesting that he's not got the appetite to develop or refurb. Loves sourcing. Really good guy, networking wise, and you know, absolutely smashing out the park and utilising the investors that we introduced to him to grow that. We touched on the training schedule. So again, if anybody wanted to look at it, Sam's happy to fire that over and give you more details. From a business point of view, we've restructured our support. So there's a number of ways that we support people with bi-monthly support days, one-to-one calls, unlimited deals, dedicated account manager, email, phone, and video support as well. So lots and lots of ways of being hands-on to identify what the problems are and how we can get you past them, how we can get you set up that a little bit quicker. If becoming a franchise was of interest to yourself, you can join the national brand and unique network, have an exclusive territory of 40,000 households, access to our induction training course, utilise a proven business model, have exposure on the property websites, attracted thousands of investors for just £12,500 plus VAT. We do have an ongoing management fee, which covers your property leads, investor leads, support, branding, bi-monthly support days, access to our funding, training events, networking events, and legal documents, and that's £200 per month, with a franchise fee of 5% of net profit. That 5% of net profit is free for the first year. So it's all information that we can talk to you on a one-to-one basis. If you are interested, here's some of the deals that we've done and currently funding at the moment. So this is one in Bournemouth where we've got a profit margin of about 1.1 million. One of our serviced accommodation units, so generating £800 per month with Everton in Barnet. It kind of just gives you a bit of an overview of some of the opportunities, and we can share more if you'd like more information. So if anybody's got any questions for myself or Sam, please feel free to ask them. Alternatively, our email address is there as well, franchise@source.co. If you'd like any more information about the actual strategies that we've touched on, we do have free videos on our website, or alternatively, we're happy to answer any direct questions. Or if you're coming up against a particular problem, you know, if you're finding something's a little bit more difficult than what you were expecting, or you're finding that you're able to find the deals but not the investors or the funding, then just reach out to us. You know, talk to us about the deals, the opportunities. We're here to help. We've got a great network as well that we can put you in touch with and get things set up as well. So I'd like to thank you all for your time this evening. Appreciate it's it's just been myself and Sam chatting away. But yeah, hopefully you've picked some things up from this. I say, any questions, please reach out to us. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. Might speak to you soon.
Have a good evening. Take care. Thank you. Oh, we've got a question popped up there last minute. Let's see what we've got. Oh, great. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, in terms of copy, we will be sending this round on email, so we'll send you a copy of the presentation as well. And on the back of that, if you've got any queries, questions, please feel free to find them back from there. Well, thank you very much for the comments, guys. Have a great evening, and we'll speak to you shortly. Take care.